It's Senator Tom Cotton. Good morning to you, sir. How you doing today?
Good morning, Kevin. Doing great. Hope you are as well.
Yeah, not too bad today. Let's talk impeachment. What do you see happening with that? Closing arguments taking place and likely a vote happening this week.
No, there'll definitely be a vote tomorrow. It's now literally all over but the shouting, Kevin. We had the final arguments from the two sides' lawyers yesterday, and last night, today, and tomorrow will be speeches for senators. You know, for the last 2 weeks, senators have had to sit at their desk quietly, which is a form of either punishment or therapy for most of them. So they had a chance now to get their thoughts off their chest over these 2 days before we vote Wednesday afternoon at 4 p.m. The president will be acquitted on both counts. I suspect that he will have at least some Democrats vote to acquit on at least some counts.
Senator Tom Cotton, I mean, there was, word that some senators were playing with fidget spinners. Some weren't at their desk watching what was happening with the impeachment. And I've got to tell you, I don't know that I could do it either. If I were a senator, I'd try. But, I mean, is that not disrespectful to the chamber? Is that not something that senators should do? And is there any punishment that's coming out of that?
Kevin, as someone who pleads guilty to having a fidget spinner that was handed out by Richard Byrd, senator from North Carolina, as one of his trinkets for lunch, and who stepped down of the chamber on a few occasions to have conversations with the president and senior administration officials about the coronavirus. I will, as I said, plead guilty to both counts, but say no. I was able to monitor the question and answer at any time, Kevin, when I stepped into the cloakroom. I think most Arkansans would sooner their senators, their congressmen be focused on doing their business, like trying to stop an outbreak of coronavirus in the country, rather than the obsessions of the Democrats in Washington. So I had a handle on this trial at all times, even in those moments when I stepped off the floor to try to work with the administration to get this virus under control in the United States. I think it's just regrettable that the American people have now for 5 months had a Congress that's more focused on what people in Washington care about than what they care about.
Senator Tom Cotton, let's talk about coronavirus. You've suggested that might have been created in a Chinese lab.
So I don't mean to suggest that it was, Kevin, but I do want to say that it is a possibility that we have to explore and roll out. Why do I say that? Wuhan is the home of China's only biosafety level 4 laboratory that works with human infectious diseases, some of the world's most deadly pathogens. Mm-hmm. Given China's lack of transparency about the origins of this virus and the extent of the virus, I don't think we can roll out that possibility or roll in that possibility.
Right.
That's one reason why it's so important that China be transparent and open, as they largely have not been to this point, and admitting international and American scientists from the World Health Organization to help identify the origins of this disease so we can learn more about how to treat its symptoms and ultimately to develop a vaccine for it.
Senator,
in moments like this, when so much is uncertain, Kevin, it's best to err on the side of caution,
right?
And to explore all possibilities until you can definitively rule them in or out based on the evidence.
You've talked about extending a travel ban too.
Yes, and that's exactly what President Trump did on Friday. I commend him for the decisive action. 22,000 people a day were landing in America on airplanes from China before this virus hit. At least some of those would have been infected with this virus. It's a mathematical certainty. So it's not a silver bullet. It doesn't mean that we won't have more cases reported in the United States from people who traveled here from, say, mid-November to last week. But there is no doubt that America is safer now than it was before we began to deny entry to persons who had been in China in the last 14 days. So I commend the president for decisive action. There's many other steps to take now in terms of rapid testing and developing therapeutic drugs and a vaccine and trying to get to the bottom of exactly how this virus originated. But that was a very necessary first step.
Senator Tom Cotton, News Radio 102.9 KARN. Senator, we've talked somewhat about Iran. We've talked about troops there. They're talking about 64 troops that are affected by traumatic brain injuries now. Many of those have gone back to active duty. Several have treatment ongoing. With that happening there and what's taken place, why not get that information out from the beginning? Did the president not know, or what happened with that?
So my understanding is the president did not know, but even higher levels of the Pentagon did not know, Kevin. And again, as we've discussed in the past, brain injuries are different from, say, your traditional physical injuries because they are not visible, and oftentimes the symptoms take time to manifest. So a soldier can be in the vicinity of an explosion and feel no immediate effects, but say 2 or 3 days later, develop a headache, develop concussive effects, be disoriented, and so forth. So that's one reason why reporting for brain injury is sometimes delayed. It's also one reason why soldiers who manifest any symptoms are sometimes held off duty longer than they otherwise might be, just out of an abundance of caution. And that's why some of this reporting takes longer than it ordinarily does.
What is the situation with Iran there?
Like, I mean, a shrapnel wound to the flesh.
Right. When we had with Iran, the situation seems like it's calmed down somewhat, or has it? Or what's going on with that now?
The threat. I'll say this, Kevin. The threat from Iran to Americans and our interests remains serious, as it was before we killed Qasem Soleimani. So I don't want to suggest to anyone that Iran is not still a threat to the United States, doesn't still chant every Friday death to America as it has for 41 years. There is no doubt, however, that Donald Trump has restored a measure of fear in the Ayatollahs of America by killing their terrorist mastermind and irreplaceable strategist, really the number 2 official in Tehran, only behind the supreme leader. The Ayatollahs are, as they should be, once again scared of the United States, just as they were once again scared of the United States after Ronald Reagan sunk half their Navy in 1988. They're still a danger, but they are no doubt knocked back on their heels.
Senator Tom Cotton, good to have you on this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you.